Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast Special Edition Series, where I go over each and every 2024 NCAA Men's College Basketball Conference Tournament. Now up is the Big 12. The tournament will be held at the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City, Missouri, as it is each and every year. So this is the 18th of 32 shows. So we'll go over the seedings, and then we'll do the bracket and do all of that fun stuff. As the tournament will begin on Tuesday, March 12th. And then second round will be the 13th, which is Wednesday. The 14th will be the quarterfinals. That's Thursday. Friday, the 15th will be the semis, and the championship will be Saturday, March 16th. So without further ado, here we go. The number one seed in this tournament with the record of 28-3 overall, 15-3 in conference play, the Houston Cougars. The 2 seed in this tournament, 24-7 overall, 13-5 in conference play, the Iowa State Cyclones. The 3 seed, 22-9 overall, 11-7 in conference play, the Baylor Bears. The 4 seed, 22-9 overall, 11-7 in conference play, the Texas Tech Red Raiders, number 25 in the country. Baylor, by the way, is ranked 14th. Iowa State 7. And Houston, obviously, number 1. The number 5 seed, 22-9 overall, 10-8 in conference play, number 20 in the country, the BYU Cougars. The 6th seed in this tournament, 22-9 overall, 10-8 in conference play, number 16 in the country, the Kansas Jayhawks. An unusual 6th seed. The 7th seed, 20-11 overall, 9-9 in conference play, the Texas Longhorns. The 8th seed, 20-11 overall, 9-9 in conference play, the TCU Horned Frogs. The 9th seed, 20-11 overall, 8-10 in conference play, the Oklahoma Sooners. The 10th seed, 18-13 overall, 8-10 in conference play, the Kansas State Wildcats. The 11th seed, 18-13 overall, 7-11 in conference play, the Cincinnati Bearcats. The 12th seed, 16-14 overall, 7-11 in conference play, the UCF Knights. Your 13th seed, 12-19 overall, 4-14 in conference play, the Oklahoma State Cowboys. And your 14th seed, 9-22 overall, 4-14 in conference play, the West Virginia Mountaineers. Oof. So without further ado, here we go. First round, Tuesday, March 12th. I believe they're matinee games, believe it or not. Yes, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, ESPN Plus. 13 seed Oklahoma State, 12 seed UCF. UCF, I think, is overachieved this year. Granted, 7-11 in conference play is not great. Jalen Stellar, 16 a game. He's pretty good. Oklahoma State underachieved. Meanwhile, their best guy is Javon Small. I project UCF 2.9 total 141 in the 10th, so I'm advancing UCF. And at 3 o'clock Eastern on ESPN Plus, 14 seed West Virginia, 11 seed Cincinnati. West Virginia has been a mess. They're kind of like the Louisville of the Big 12 this year, except intern coach and everybody just left after Bob Huggins left. They have a ton of injuries on the team, which is unfortunate. They did get their center back, Jesse Edwards. And then Raekwon Battle. I mean, if those two guys were healthy, maybe they're in that Texas, Kansas State, TCU kind of mix. But no, they ended up being a disaster. Ended up being like the Louisville of the Big 12. And granted, the Big 12 is so much better than the, makes sense. Big 12 is a better league than the ACC, so maybe comparing them to Louisville is a little bit of an insult. But from a record standpoint, they have the same record as Louisville, just about. And then Cincy has overachieved this year, coming over to the Big 12. Their best player is Dan Skillings Jr., averaging over 12 a game. They're well balanced. I project Cincinnati 4.5 total, 144 and 3/20. So I'm going to advance them. Second round, Wednesday, March 13th, 12 seed UCF, 5 seed BYU. BYU's been a massive overachiever. Mark Pope has to be in the conversation for Big 12 Coach of the Year, but it's going to be Kelvin Sampson. But as good as a job Mark Pope has done, though. Their best player is Jackson Robinson, averaging almost 14 a game. I project BYU 5.2 over UCF, so I'm going to advance BYU. Second of 4 second-round games, 9 seed Oklahoma and 8 seed TCU. Oklahoma, some may argue have overachieved this year, including myself. Porter Moser is a really good coach. They're a balanced team led by Javion McCollum, averaging over 13 a game. TCU with Jamie Dixon has done a really good job, led by Emmanuel Miller at 16 a game. I project TCU 2.7 over Oklahoma to total 148, so I'm going to advance TCU. Third of 4 second-round games, 10 seed Kansas State, 7 seed Texas. K-State took a step back from last year. Jerome Tang's still a good coach. They're a well-balanced team. I don't think they're going to make the tournament. They've had some weird losses, including losing to a USC team that was overrated from the get-go. Tyler Perry averaging over 15 a game for them. And they also have Cam Carter and Arthur Kaluma on their team, who are also good players. And Texas underachieved relative to expectations after making the Elite Eight last year with Rodney Terry at the helm. But they're still really talented and are absolutely capable of doing big things, led by Max Ombas and Dylan DeSue. I project Texas by 3, total 144 and 310, so I'm going to advance the Longhorns. Cincinnati, Kansas. So Kansas, not your typical Kansas team. I think they've underachieved from a win-loss standpoint. Under Bill Self, obviously, but McCullough and Dickinson are as good as a Big Two as you can find. I project Kansas 9 3/4 because it's at the T-Mobile Center, so they get a couple bonus points added on, just like we're going to do Big East. St. John's will, and then for Mountain West, obviously UNLV will. Although those two are obviously, we're going to get more points than Kansas because this is just less than an hour away from Fog Allen. So I project Kansas 9 3/4, so I'm going to advance Kansas over Cincy. Quarterfinals, March 14th, that's a Thursday. 5 seed BYU, 4 seed Texas Tech. Tech's having a decent year, led by guard Pop Isaacs at 16 a game. I project Tech 1.6 over the overachieving Cougars. And both teams are obviously going to make the tournament, so that would be big for Tech to get it. Although it would help both teams, even though both teams are, I think, going to get in. 8 seed TCU, 1 seed Houston. Houston's a machine, and they've been a machine forever. No matter what conference they're in, they're a machine. LJ Cryer is an outstanding player, over 15 a game. I project Houston 8.4 over their in-state rivals, so I'm going to advance Houston. Third and fourth quarterfinal games, 7 seed Texas, 2 seed Iowa State. Iowa State, Oltenberger's done a great job with this team. Very well-balanced team led by Keyshawn Gilbert. I have Iowa State 2.4 over Texas, so I'm going to advance the Cyclones. And in the last of 4 quarterfinal games, 6 seed Kansas and 3 seed Baylor. Great game between really good teams. Baylor is super well-balanced, led by Jacoby Walter at almost 15 a game. But the difference is here is that Kansas in the T-Mobile Center. But even if, say, the games were at the Garden, I would still have Kansas favored over Baylor. I have Kansas 2.6 over the Baylor Bears. So there's a big seeding upset in the quarterfinals. Semifinals, 6 seed Kansas, 2 seed Iowa State. Again, Kansas has the best guys on the court in Dickinson and McCullough. Oltenburger, outstanding job. They're going to make the tournament. They're a deep team. I project Kansas 1.6, so I'm going to advance Kansas. In the last of the 2 semifinals, 4 seed Texas Tech, 1 seed Houston. I think this is a mismatch. All due respect to Texas Tech and Isaacs, who could score for sure. But the Cougars are the better team. I project them 7.7. So I'm going to advance Texas Tech. And then the championship, 6 seed Kansas, 1 seed Houston from the T-Mobile Center. This was a hard call. I think each team has a chance to have the best guy. Cryer on one side. And on the other side, you have McCullough and Dickinson. I actually have Houston favored by 3.5 in this spot over Kansas. So, as Houston makes a compelling case for the number 1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament, I have them winning the 2024 Big 12 tournament. And if they get that done, I think they're going to be the number 1 overall seed in the tournament. They're in the best league in the world in the Big 12. I think the Big 10's a little overrated, as is the Big East. Although the Big East is top-heavy, I like the Big East's potential. But like that middle of the Big East is a little overrated. And the Big 12, I think, is awesome. And I think the Houston Cougars have earned the number 1 overall seed, or will have earned it if they win this tournament. So, Iowa State, I think, will be a 2 seed. Kansas, if they make the final, that's a lot of losses for a 3 seed. But I think they're going to be a 4 seed. I think Texas Tech will be like a 5. Baylor, I think, will be... but then again, you're going to have some 10-loss teams on the 3 line. So maybe Baylor and Kansas will both be 3s. One of them is going to be a 4. I think Kansas, with the win over UConn, that'll probably get them to the 3 line. Baylor has some big wins this year. Maybe they'll be a 3 or a 4. I think BYU will probably be like a 5 or a 6. I think that, like I said, Iowa State will probably be a 2. Like the Texas TCUs, maybe they're like in that 7, 8, 9, 10 range. Oklahoma is fascinating to me. I think they need to beat TCU to get in. That's just me personally. To me, Oklahoma's on the bubble, but maybe they do get in. They're Oklahoma, Porter Moser. They beat Iowa, who is kind of a bubble team. USC, as we know, is overrated. Providence, maybe, and Arkansas proved to be overrated. North Carolina, no shame in losing to Carolina. And then notable wins in conference, Iowa State, before Iowa State got hot. They lost at home to Texas when they were ranked 11th, so they kind of fell apart in the latter half of the year, Oklahoma. But I think there's a chance that they don't make the tournament at all. So, let's say Oklahoma will be in Dayton. But if they win that game against TCU, I think they dodge Dayton. Kansas State, I think, can play its way to Dayton. If they beat Texas and make the quarters, I think that they could be on the bubble. Bid Steelers. We even talked about bid Steelers in the previous 2 podcasts. I think, because we usually don't see bid Steelers in these types of leagues. The A-10, I said it was going to be Loyola Chicago. The ACC, nobody really stands out to me. Maybe Wake. We talked about them a little bit. But to me, if there's a bid stealer in the Big 12, I'm looking at like a weird one in Kansas State. If they make the Final Four and then lose, maybe they sneak in there into Dayton. But like an out of nowhere auto bid stealer, I could see that being Cincinnati. I don't think it'll be UCF. I think it's more likely to be Cincy. I don't think it'll be Oklahoma State or West Virginia. But maybe it is UCF. But because of their balance and they play defense, I think Cincinnati could be a bid stealer. And it could unexpectedly win the auto bid in this tournament. NIT, I think Kansas State gunpoint's NIT. So is Cincinnati. And UCF will be in the CBI, I think. Value for this tournament. We did not get to that. We will do that now. Okay. This actually is going to beat the 8-10 and the ACC tournament podcasts. Ironically enough. If I had to guess the favorite, it's definitely Houston, but I think it's plus money. Yes, even money. Iowa State's plus 430, Baylor 6-1, Kansas, BYU's 11, Texas 18, Texas 24, TCU 36, Oklahoma 80, Kansas State, Cincy 100, UCF 160, Oklahoma State and West Virginia each 250. The value's on Kansas at 11. Dickinson and McCullough, technically a home court advantage. I can't believe they're double-digit odds to win this tournament. I think Texas has some value at 24-1 with Ambas. So those are two that stand out to me in terms of value. Texas at 24 and Kansas at 10. In Houston, and even money I would throw in with Carolina and then whoever's left of like Colgate and maybe you throw Dayton in there with them and some of the other teams that could easily win their conference tournaments. Most outstanding player of the tournament, I'm going to go with LJ on that one, LJ Fryer of Houston. That's just an obvious pick. If not him, then Hunter Dickinson of Kansas. Coaches. I think Kelvin Sampson is going to be at Houston for a really long time. I wonder if TJ Otzelberger may venture elsewhere. He's done an outstanding job with Iowa State. Mark Pope, I think his stock has gone up. Bill Self's obviously not going anywhere. Scott Drew's obviously not going anywhere. I think Grant McCaslin's done a really good job. We'll see about McCaslin. I think he's done outstanding since taking over there. Rodney Terry, I feel like, might be a future hot seat guy. Not now, but if like that program underachieves, they're going to be like, ooh, maybe we should have went after a bigger name or something like that. I mean, I could see that down the road. I could see that being... I put him in like that Hubert Davis group of guys of like another bad year away from, oh, you're on the hot seat type of thing. Dixon, I don't think's leaving TCU. Porter Moser's done a great job at Oklahoma. Jerome Tang's been outstanding his first years at Kansas State, although he might not make the tournament this year. I think that Wes Miller has done a great job at Cincinnati. I think that Johnny Dawkins got himself off the hot seat this year at UCF. But if they get rid of Johnny Dawkins, it's going to be because they went 7-11 in conference play. But I don't think that Johnny Dawkins should be fired yet. I think he did a good job this year. Hot seat, Josh Eilert's out at West Virginia. He was bad. I mean, I compared him to Louisville earlier, but that's only because their record is almost as bad, like right in the ballpark of Louisville. But granted, in a better league. But they lost some unnecessary bye games similar to Louisville. That's why I called them the Louisville of the Big 12. But Louisville is a good coach away from turning around, I think, potentially, because of the conference they're in. West Virginia has to nail this hire. I mean, maybe they hired the next Jerome Tang and they're good right away and get some transfers in there. I know the transfer portal changes everything. But yeah, Josh Eilert has no business, and I mean absolutely zero business being back next year. He was bad. And Mike Boynton, I think, is also on the hot seat. And I think that's the coach on the hottest seat. But the West Virginia intern coach doesn't count. Eilert, because he's an intern coach. You knew he wasn't coming back. He was only going to come back if they made the tournament and overachieved, and then it would have been a weird situation there. And that could have, similar to Texas with Rodney Terry in a weird way, which we'll obviously keep our eyes on. So there you have it for the Big 12. Next up will be Conference USA, which will be a lot shorter of a show.